Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGeek webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. I'm really sorry for being a bit late. It was due to some technical glitch that our speaker was not able to log in. So the topic of today's session is WAS V8.5 new features for rapid delivery and liberty profile for developers. Our guest speaker today is Ms. Lalita Vishali Panalla, Development Manager, WebSphere Application Server Portfolio at IBM India Software Labs. Ms. Lalita has over 16 years of IT experience with Java EE-based product design, development, support and management. Currently, she is a development manager for the she's a development manager for the WebSphere Application Server portfolio at IBM India Software Labs in the performance and serviceability components of WS. Over the past 6 years, Lalita has managed development and support of several WS components and contributed to the delivery of the product. Lalita has presented on the WebSphere products at several technical events at IBM and Sun and has done extensive evangelism of WAS, its feature packs, OSGi performance best practices, and cloud-based products. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Ms. Lalita.
Thanks, Mohini. Good afternoon, everyone. We really apologize for the delay. There's been some problem in trying to log in. So we are on to the presentation without any further delay. I'm on slide number 3. As Mohini introduced, I would be talking about the WebSphere Application Server V8.5 and its new features. But before that, I'll have a quick round of introduction to the application infrastructure portfolio of IBM, what are the products and offerings in this space, and then move on to the WebSphere Application Server family, and we can then move on to the topic of the day, which is that of the liberty profile for developers. So I'm on slide 3, where what I'm going to talk about is the trends of application infrastructure in the market today. So basically, there is a lot of demand and ask for rapid application development and delivery. And in addition to that, there is proliferation of mobile and social media, digital influence, and there is a lot of demand to driving your middleware and infrastructure to meet these demands. Another facet to the market trend is the huge transaction volume and very less tolerance for any transaction timeouts or delays. And the last one, the driver in the market, is that of cloud delivery. With more and more vendors moving towards SaaS kind of offerings and not investing in purchase of hardware and software, it becomes very important for us to cater to this cloud delivery model in order to stand pace with the market. So we will see what, in slide number 4, what offerings IBM has in each of these spaces. So in the space of rapid application development, we have the foundation, as you see down below in this picture. The WebSphere Application Server Foundation, along with the virtual enterprise, which handles intelligent management and dynamic provisioning, as well as WebSphere Compute Grid, which is catered to the batch processing and handling of huge volumes using batches, caters to rapid application development. And in addition, the volumes of transactions that we talked about get catered to by the extreme scale offering, which deals with a huge transaction volume without having to deal with delays or timeouts of transactions. And the DataPower appliance caters to the similar one in the form of an appliance. And so that is the offering we have in this space of rapid application development. Now coming to the cloud, we have the WAS Hypervisor Edition, which comes catered to the cloud environment and which is virtualized version of WAS with the OS images. And that comes along with the IBM Workload Deployer, which is another offering for pattern deployment on the cloud. And intelligent management, PAC is an add-on to IBM Workload Deployer. Patterns for web applications complement this whole cloud portfolio by being able to automatically recognize the artifacts of a web application and being able to deploy to that pattern. And in addition to that, there are tools which help us with dynamically being able to work around this environment by providing widgets and configuration panels to be able to configure to this product portfolio. Now moving on to slide 5, what you saw in slide 4 was the current situation, and what you're going to see in slide 5 is the improvement in offerings that especially 8.5 version brought about. So if you, Mohini, if you click on the slide, there's an animation in there which tells us the purple portion of the slide, which is that of WebSphere Application Server, and WBE and WCG offering is now combined into one holistic offering, which with WebSphere Application Server also having the ability for intelligent management and batch processing itself. So there is no separate offering in here, and we've enhanced the base WAS Application Server to be able to do this, have this capability as well. In addition to the Liberty profile, which will be the topic of the day, and we'll cover it in greater detail as we go by. And moving on, when you click the next, there's another animation in there which shows how the hypervisor edition of WAS, which is the yellow blob out there on the top, is also enhanced for intelligent management. Another click out there and you'll see another animation which shows the mobile offering which we have, which is called the IBM WorkLight Server. Now there was this Web 2.0 and mobile feature pack which was shipping alongside the WebSphere Application Server, which was helping develop mobile applications which are catered to good platforms like Android and so on. And in addition to that, now we have the WorkLight Server, which is even more optimized to development for mobile and supports hybrid development as well. That is both for the mobile as well as for your laptop or desktop. In addition to making use of the facilities that are there on Android, the core facilities that are there on your phone, like camera and GPRS and so on. It is much more optimized for mobile development. So we have an offering in the IBM mobile platform which helps, as we just saw in previous slides, cater to the trend of mobile proliferation in the marketplace. And in the tools area, as we just discussed, we have a studio also for the WorkLight, and we have a new facet to tooling that we have. We earlier had Rational Application Developer and was running as a runtime in that IDE. And for developers desktop, we now have included the WAS developer tools by way of which the Liberty profile runtime can also run within Eclipse. Now, this is the first time that we're able to run within Eclipse. Earlier, Eclipse was not supported to be running with Eclipse. So Liberty profile for developers, which is our new offering with WAS 8.5, is a very powerful one, as we'll see by. Moving on to slide 6, this is an overview of the, having seen what the earlier slide showed, which is that of overview of application infrastructure foundation. We are now at understanding what the application server family has to bring. So we're now one step into the application server family, which is our topic for the day. So WebSphere Application Server family has been a long journey with several offerings in this space, as you can see on this slide. We have the base WAS, the middle of this slide, with the tools edition where you can actually edit and configure for several widgets and develop using the RAD as tools edition. In addition, we have WAS Hypervisor edition, as we just discussed, which is optimized for the cloud. We have WAS Network Deployment edition. The WAS can be deployed in various topologies, the basic profile, the base profile. We have the network deployment topology. We have the administration agent topology. We have the job manager topology, and so on. And WAS ND, being one of these, is also coming with the tools edition. Now we also have WAS optimized for ZOS. We have WAS Express, which is a lower cost version for primarily building dynamic websites, and we have WAS for developers version, which is what we're going to talk about today primarily, which is a new offering that we're coming up with. Moving on to slide 7 is about the journey. We've had 14 years of leadership and trusted delivery with the application server. We're not going way back into history, but we'll start from about 2005, 2006, which saw the release of WAS 6 and 6.1. 2008 end saw the release of WAS V7, and 2009 and 2010 saw the release of several feature packs on top of WAS V7, OSGi, the JPA, the communication-enabled application CA, the SCA, XML, web services, DJP, and so on. There was release of several feature packs on top of WAS V7 in all over 2009 and 2010. 2010 saw the making of WAS V8, and in 2011 the WAS V8 version was released around mid of the year, alongside refreshes to the hypervisor edition as well as the migration toolkit. And 2011 end saw the release of beta version of 8.5, and towards the end of 2011 was beta, and 2012 saw the release of WAS V8.5 in two flavors, which is that of the mainstream, the full profile WAS, which is that of WAS V8.5, and then the lightweight version, which is called Liberty Profile for developers. So the mainstream WAS, the full production version, also has a Liberty Profile as a dynamic and optional profile. Now we have the Liberty Profile as a separate offering, which is suitable for the developer's desk. With that, we move on to slide 8. So slide 8 has the offerings of 8.5 in 3 pillars: rapid application development, developer experience, the features for resiliency, which is that of intelligent management and so on, and the features for operations and control, which work on selectable JD gains and improvements by way of security and control. Now for today's discussion, we will be focusing on the Liberty Profile, so I'll be focusing for want of time on the first pillar, which is that of developer experience. And we'll be focusing on the new Liberty Profile. Moving to slide 9, it gives an overall snapshot of the feature set in these 3 areas. And what I'm going to cover, as I just said, would be the first pillar, which is that of the features that help you with rapid application development. If you want an overview, if you want to listen to the entire offerings, entire feature set by way of WAS 8.5, I will be coming to the slide where I will be showing you the virtual event that we are doing for WAS, and that will be on October 10, 11, and 12. So please do join us at that time, where you'll get a full-fledged understanding of all the features. It's a 3-day event, so that will be a good one for the entire set of features there are in the 8.5. For today, we will focus on the first part and the Liberty Profile. Moving on to slide 10. Now, we have also been comparing the earlier releases of WAS with the latest ones to make sure that there is a constant improvement in performance. Spectre Enterprise, as you would know, is the benchmark of application server performance measurement driven by Sun, which is now Oracle. And the unit of measurement is e-jobs per second per core, enterprise job operations per second per core. So if you see, there is a constant improvement in the performance of WAS over the years. 8.5 is outperforming those, so performance is our strongest consideration. Alongside enhancing it for features which are important for the market and market trends, we also make sure that we are on par or outperforming in terms of the release-to-release performance. Moving on to slide 11, as I said, this is what I will be covering today for a major part, and we'll be able to explain all the features we have in this area, Liberty Profile being one of the major ones that we want to take to our developers. So, moving on to slide 12. We've been listening to the feedback that we've been getting on WAS. There is a lot of feedback that we have from the marketplace, from the field, from the customers, who say that WAS is complex to deal with. It is not developed. It is a very good application server, a great one for production environment. We have a very reliable and a resilient application server there. But when it comes to a developer desk, we need something lightweight. We need something that can take us on with an application development more quickly, faster, low footprint. We don't want any cost associated, lowered cost of application development in environment. And more fidelity with the mainstream production server. As in, if I develop at my developer desk, I must be able to easily port it to the production environment. So these are the asks that we've been constantly hearing from our developer base. And we've been listening, we've been acting on them, and as slide 13 shows, we've come up with an offering. Like I said, in 8.5, we have an offering of the application server for the enterprise, and we have one for the developers. The enterprise version is a full-fledged WAS with all the production-ready services and enterprise-class deployment, resiliency, intelligent management, provisioning, and all security operational control that an enterprise application server would need. In addition to that, there is the other offering, which is primarily for the developers, which is called Liberty Lightweight Profile for Developers. Liberty is extremely fast, no charge download, and as we will see in further slides, it is a whole host of goods in one shot. We have a very quick startup time with Liberty and very simplified server configuration and very suitable for developers' desks. It is a boon to developers. So as we will see in slide 14, and moving on to slide 14, this is a very good summary of what 8.5 Liberty Profile has to offer. So Liberty Profile 8.5 has one simplified configuration file with a developer focus. Now there is only one file called server.xml into which all the configuration goes, unlike having multiple files for various configuration of various components. Your application configuration and artifacts also go into the same file. This file, as we will see in further slides, has the ability to link into other configuration files, but the tools, the WAS developer tools, have the ability to show all the XML or all the configuration in one holistic view in the RAD or Eclipse kind of tool. So very simplified config. You just have to add a feature to server.xml and you have it available to you without having to restart the server. Very small download, less than 50 MB, dynamic runtime. You can, instead of having, as we will see in further slides, and not to worry if you do not get to some point at this point in time, we have slides which explain each one of these facets going down further. But just to give you a quick snapshot as we are in this slide, dynamic runtime is the ability to add features at runtime without having to restart the server. So all you have to say is what feature you want to add in feature/feature on server.xml, and you have the feature established for you without having to restart the server. Then integration with Job Manager. Now this, for those of you who understand Job Manager, flexible management, multi-skill administration topology that WAS can be deployed in, it is a way of managing multiple deployment managers and administration agents for huge WAS deployments. So Job Manager is an asynchronous way of managing your nodes in a way as to schedule jobs on each one of the deployment managers, by way of which you can do server start, stop, undeploy, redeploy, and any kind of functions across nodes of the server, of all the server farms there is under this Job Manager. So you have the ability now with the latest version of Liberty to be able to manage Liberty life cycles through the Job Manager. Fidelity with full WAS profile. Now this is a very important feature to have, Because as I develop something on the developer desk and I want to take it to production, it should not become a whole new exercise again of migration. It should be seamless integration to production full-time WAS. So now the mainstream enterprise full WAS, which is amenable to production use, and liberty profile are in full fidelity. So you can actually deploy whatever you've developed in full fidelity with the full profile WAS or the enterprise version of WAS. And this is a very good feature that the developers will like, so that there is no downtime or there is no additional effort in migrating an application from dev test environment to production. In addition, there is the unzip, install, and deploy facility, which is the install is made extremely easy. All you have to do is just unzip a few folders and you have the liberty profile running for you. It is not a huge install kind of an effort. It's just about unzipping to install to have it working. Integrated tooling, we will see as we go by. There is powerful tooling that we can use to develop on Eclipse and RAD, RESTful Application Developer, for Liberty runtime. Very lightweight runtime. Now, in addition to the footprint on disk, the footprint in memory is also very light, and it is 60 MB for our TradeLight application, which is one of the benchmarking applications. Incredibly fast, less than 5 seconds to start. Those of you who would attend the virtual event that we would be hosting from October 10th to 12th, the link which I'll be passing on to you for, will show demos on how it starts in less than 5 seconds. It's incredibly fast. So this is an overall introduction of the Liberty profile, a very, very dynamic server profile, very useful to developers. Moving on to slide 15. Like I said, slide 14 summarizes many things together, and slide 15 onwards delve into the details or give you a snapshot and figures as to explain those features in detail. So no hurdles to install. This is exactly what I was telling you a minute ago, that all you have to do is unzip into a folder and you have from nothing to something that's actually absolutely working. So if you consider Eclipse as your IDE, all you have to do is go to Eclipse Marketplace and download your WAS for developers tools. And once you download and install them and develop using them in order to run them, and when you're trying to get your runtime in place, so you have an option by way of which Liberty profile, Liberty server can be downloaded and installed as your runtime environment. So all happens in very less time and with a very small footprint. The animation in there shows how WAS for developers is a toolkit that you will download on Eclipse, and using that you will download the Liberty profile, which is a download of less than or around 40 MB, or you can download separately from wasdev.net. Wasdev.net is a very useful link to have, which gives you a lot of links, useful bookmarks, useful presentations, and useful material on Liberty profile. Moving on to slide 16. What this means for developers. Now, that's all we've been talking about so far. So developers have a lightweight Liberty profile, very easy, uncomplicated server that's just running on their IDE, which is RAD, or it's running on for the newest version of Liberty, or newest version of WAS 8.5 shipping. The Liberty profile will be running on Eclipse as well. So they have Liberty profile running on RAD or Liberty profile running on Eclipse. In addition, all the goods of Liberty profile we just talked about: very small footprint, simplified configuration, fastest startup, fidelity with full profile WAS. No, this is free. There is no expiration, and the first version of it will be focused more on the web application development, focusing on JPA transaction security, OSGi mobile apps, and so on. So it is a time to value for developers. It greatly accelerates their development time. Moving on to slide 17, this slide explains how the simplified configuration has been achieved in Liberty Profile. Like I said, server.xml is the only file there is to the entire configuration. It has a feature manager in which there you can see a feature enabled in there. And when that feature is enabled, there is no need for restart of the server. That feature gets dynamically enabled, and this is what we call dynamic runtime provisioning when we talked about Liberty. So there is no multiple XMLs to deal with. And the best part of this is that this is shareable and versionable. Earlier, the XML files would be very server specific or node specific because they would have information which is specific to that particular node or that particular server in them. For example, names of nodes, port numbers, and so on. Now, because such information or such configuration has been extracted out of server.xml, it becomes portable, it becomes shareable, it becomes exportable, it becomes something which you can just take, plug in and plug out from one server and put in another with absolutely no additional edits or configurations. Because it is now node neutral, it is now server neutral. All there is to it is your development related information, configuration information. Moving on to slide 18, this again shows a snapshot of the simplified configuration in server.xml. As you can see, there are two features enabled here, JSP and JDBC. There are some configurations which are singleton, as in which are configured once and would not change or would get overwritten if changed. So there is logging, for example, which is a singleton configuration. And there are instance configurations which are of the nature that are instance-based. For example, you have an application trade light, and then you can have several other applications. You have a data source, you can have several other data sources. So these are instance specifications which also you can make in server.xml. And in addition, as you will see in slide 19, there are shareable config snippets. So you can also include other XML files which have other configuration information in the main server.xml. So the advantage to this feature is, say there were two developers that are working on a big project. There could be more, but just this is an example. So now developer 1 has a certain amount of configuration done, developer 2 has certain other amount of configuration done. Now both of these can be clubbed because both of them do not have any node specific information. They're both working on Liberty, so there's no node specific information. Now when they are trying to club their work together and try to see the holistic testing, try to see the holistic picture, they can just include individually their XMLs in server.xml in this specific tags, like the way it's mentioned in this picture here, in the snippet here. So the integration is so seamless. There is no need for additional any changes to the or any edits to the individual server.xml. All you have to do is make sure that the locations are specified correctly. And the WAS developer tools in Eclipse show the entire snapshot in an exploded way, in a holistic and composable way. So what are the configuration parameters that the first file has, what the second file has? They show it in proper comprehensive way. So moving on. Moving on to the next slide, which is slide 20. This is a slide which explains what the feature would be called. It has dynamic runtime. So if you see the left side, full profile WAS. Now the enterprise version of full profile WAS has all the services which Java EE supports, including the core runtime and any other WAS extensions, all in one bundle. Now what Liberty does is it gives you what you exactly want. If your application has only web artifacts, it will ask you to enable only those features. If your application has other features which deal with JPA, it will ask you to enable only those. So it is only, it provisions on demand. It provisions dynamically at runtime, and it doesn't have, there is no need for a server restart with it. So the core, if you see, is only the lavender portion out there, which is down below, and the rest of all is add-on. So the footprint is as much as you want it to be, the runtime footprint, right? So that is the advantage you have in using a lightweight server. So it is just as much as your application wants it to be. Moving on to slide 21. So what does this mean for production? Okay, great. At developer's desk, this looks very logically simple. Yes, but what does it mean for production? Can I seamlessly deploy it on production? What hitches will I have when I move to production? So like we just talked about in the previous slide, right? It is that of the good part is that there are no node-specific artifacts or server-specific artifacts in the configuration files, which makes it very easily portable. So from your dev to production environment is going to be an easy port. Just zip up all the application, configuration, and server types that you just tested on, and you have it running on production. If you go to slide 22, this explains how when you, Mohini, there's a bit of an animation here. You can click on next, and it will show you how you can click on the right arrow, and it will show you how the base WLP is was Liberty profile in there. So when you zip all these things together, the Liberty profile with the underlying Java SDK and your server XML and your Ajar, just zip them all together and you can deploy it onto each one of these nodes. So when you click the right arrow, you'll be able to see all of these getting deployed on each one of the nodes. So you either manually put all these and unzip onto those nodes, or give it to the job manager and it will manage the life cycle of this particular Liberty profile. So it's as simple as just zipping all of them together and deploying them. Earlier there was a lot of manual intervention in terms of trying to see what the, first of all, it was not possible for merging two server.xml or comparing them because they had a lot of node-specific information or server-specific information in them. Now the configuration information there is not server-specific, so it makes it that much easy to just club them together into a zip and install it. Moving on to slide 24, this is about the JMX portion, the Java Management Extension portion, which is that needed for monitoring in Liberty. Now we all know that sometimes we do run into problems with related to performance, run into problems related to transaction timeout, slow response, out of memory, for all of which we need to do some troubleshooting. And knowing the metrics, the JVM metrics, the thread pool metrics, the web container metrics, the session metrics, the connection metrics, the CPU metrics, knowing the metrics of the system, of the environment will be key to debugging such situations. So in that spirit, it is important to support monitoring in Liberty as well. For a developer desk also, it becomes important to have these monitoring parameters. So in addition to, you must be familiar with the MBean server, by way of which we do monitoring. Each component spills out its own MBeans, which actually give out data that specific component gives out by way of metrics. So to connect to the MBean server, we usually earlier had a local connector which came with the SDK. Now we also have support for a REST connector. So in the representational state transfer, REST is a way of, as you would know, implemented to the JAX RS specification, Java API for XML-based RESTful web services. It is a way of letting a resource be available for remote use via a web services URL. So we have been able to get a REST connector-based connectivity to the MBean server to develop applications using the monitoring data that we give out. So if you move on to slide 25, it goes on to say the same thing. There's a local connector which we can make use of, which is part of the SDK to develop your MBean-based applications. There is also a new REST connector that we support, by way of which we can develop applications connecting to a remote MBean server as well. Moving on to slide 26, monitor feature set 1.0. So in Liberty, there are a certain amount of metrics that we support which are related to the web container. because Liberty Profile primarily focuses on the web development for now. One important thing to note here is that there is no overhead. Normally, any of these performance metrics throw up an overhead on the server because it is a lot of data gathering that is going on under the hood. And with use of BCI kind of techniques, bytecode injection kind of techniques, we actually inject code into the bytecode itself. By way of using BCI framework, the performance overhead of enabling monitoring goes down drastically and actually comes down to literally no overhead. So because we use the BCI framework in Liberty, there is absolutely no overhead in terms of collecting metrics for the web container related metrics. So we have metrics which relate to the JVM, the thread pool, and web applications in Liberty. So the data is reported using MX beams. MX beams are an improvement over MBeams with some enhancements over them. We can use JConsole to be able to view them, which is a standard JDK client, to be able to view the metrics. Moving on to slide 27 goes to explain what exactly are the JVM monitoring metrics we have available in Liberty. Very commonplace and known ones to those who do problem determination: the free memory, used memory, heap size, CPU utilization, GC count, GC related metrics. All these are important to know even for a developer, so we support them. Moving on to slide 28, we have the thread pool metrics, the active thread, pool size, name of the thread pool, and so on, which will actually give some amount of thread related information, thread pool related information for debugging. Web application related metrics in terms of request count, response time are the other metrics that we support for web applications. So that was about the metrics for monitoring that we support in Liberty. Along with it, in slide 30, you will see some SSL features also. So if you want to develop web applications, obviously you'll have security concerns. So in Liberty, which is so lightweight, so developer friendly, we also have support for SSL. So if you want to have your applications SSL enabled, you have a feature for that. So it comes with everything you need: JPA, OSGi, mobile, web, JDBC, and security, and all the features that are necessary for you to do your basic and even secure enabled web application. Moving on to slide 31. Now, in addition to being a very good friendly application server for the developers, Liberty also syncs up and works well with our offerings. As you must remember, the initial part we discussed the offerings of Extreme Scale and the DataPower appliance. So Extreme Scale actually was to be able to deploy and then does dynamic elastic caching over them. So Liberty is fully integrated with this, and it can actually the WXS containers, the Extreme Scale containers, can now run on the Liberty profile. So all the good there is in Liberty profile stands here. You can do rapid application development using WXS because you can use Eclipse, which Liberty supports, to be able to do these application development. And in addition, the session failover, which was earlier running on WAS, where the WXS container servers were running, is now available. The Liberty servers also support the HTTP session failover. So all the good there is in Liberty applies here as well because it's integrated seamlessly with Extreme Scale. Moving on to slide 32, it shows you how at a configuration level in server.xml, how a feature for Extreme Scale can be created, and you can use the features of Extreme Scale seamlessly with Liberty. The session failover information can be stored, and the Extreme Scale server, the same functionality that you got with Extreme Scale server can be gotten here. So it seamlessly integrates with Extreme Scale. Moving on to slide 33, it shows you how the tooling helps in configuring and running and working on these offerings. So basically, RAD has a very comprehensive set of feature packs that it supports. It supports right from SIP, CA, batch, JSF, SCA, and all kinds of all feature packs. There are Web2 mobile feature pack as well. And the WAS developer tools for Eclipse supports a limited number of them, which are suitable for using with the Liberty profile. That is the Web2 and mobile, OSGi, and those that are important for web application related development. So the tooling is very supportive of the enhancements and programming models we've got on top of WAS. Slide 34 tells you now what it looks like. The 8.5 set of with the 8.5 Liberty profile, what do the offerings look like? So if you see, WAS for developers has a tools edition plus a Liberty profile. We have WAS which comes with Liberty profile along with tools edition. We have WAS Express which has a Liberty profile. So Liberty profile is being added into all the offerings because it's a lightweight version, very suitable for developers. But this is not to demean or undervalue the mainstream enterprise version of WAS. Now, in order to deploy into a production system, you really need the resiliency, the provisioning, the dynamic provisioning, the kind of tight operational control, the qualities of service which a professional and an enterprise class WAS brings, right? And that has its own importance. And what is important for a developer is to be able to take a subset of that runtime and which is suitable to his application, develop and be able to deploy onto the production system, a reliable production system with good fidelity between his development environment and the production environment. So this is what a developer wants. This is exactly what we give, because we have the Liberty profile that runs alongside WAS, and while the mainstream WAS, the enterprise class WAS works as a production environment, we have the Liberty profile that is a boon to the developers then. So together, they satisfy the needs of production as well as that of developers. Moving on to slide 35. Now let's take a quick look at the other features which fall under rapid application development. What we saw is the Liberty profile, which is great, excellent, and which is very good for developers' desk. Now what is it that is making Liberty so fast, so seamless, so modular? Now there is the underlying technology which Liberty profile is using and which we also encourage our customers to use is OSGi. Now OSGi is not new. We have embraced it into the enterprise market a little over the time of WAS 7 feature pack, WAS 7 release and feature packs over that. But it has been existing with embedded systems for a long time for modular application development. We have a few slides here on OSGi which help understand the importance of OSGi and how it really is the cornerstone and foundation on which Liberty is running, and Liberty's success shows that OSGi is really important for product development and can really make the entire modules very structured, which will give a lot of performance gain as you see in Liberty. 36, the slide number 36 gives an introduction of what OSGi is, right? Now, in slide 35, what is covered is the summary of OSGi, of the features of OSGi, which I'll be explaining in detail in slide 36 and so on, and then you will be able to get to the summary. So as you see in slide 36, right? Now this gives an introduction to what is OSGi, why is it so important? Now, if you take a step back to see what is exactly important to develop an application, we all know that modular applications are important to develop because they're extensible, they're maintainable. And we rely on languages like object-oriented languages like Java, C, C++ to be able to do that for us. But if you see, there are some limitations to the packaging that we have here. The objects, as we know, are embedded in classes in in packages. Packages are packaged into jars. Now, do we have jar scoped access modifiers? We have access modifiers at the level of class and below the jar kind of a structure, but at the jar level, do you have access modifiers? No, we don't. Do we have versioning at the level of jars? No, we don't. What is it that we face because of this? Now, when I have, say, a logging jar or a Xerxes jar that I have in my class path, and I want application A to use Xerxes 1.1 and application B to use Xerxes 1.2. How do I achieve this? There is no way. If I put it in the class path, I'm at the mercy of the class path. I do not know which application, when the class path will pick up which version in order to service which application. So application has no way of declaring its dependencies explicitly by version numbers of jars that it needs. Also, jars don't have versions attached to them in our traditional way of bundleizing and modularizing, right? That is where the modularization that we get using OSGi comes into picture and is very useful. Another classic example of where we fall short today is, suppose you need a specific logging jar or logging API or logging framework in an application. Now you are moving that application from development to production, or you have to, wherever you are deploying that application, or you have multiple applications that need the same jar. You have to bundle that jar several times. With each of the application, you have to keep bundling that jar. Logging jar. Logging jar is there in app A, in app B, in app C, in app D. Because there are, again, it comes down to the same thing, because there are no versions. If app A needs log4j1.1, app B needs log4j1.2, if you don't bundle them separate, individually, put it in the class path, you really don't know which is getting picked up. So in order to overcome all these problems we are seeing with traditional way of bundleizing and modularizing, OSGi comes into picture. If you go to slide 37, OSGi defines itself as a dynamic module system for Java. It introduces the concept of a bundle. A bundle is nothing but a jar with a specific manifest, bundle manifest, which has a bundle version, import package, export package. Now, if you see slowly the ills that got introduced in the earlier slide or because of the traditional way of bundleizing are all getting taken care of here. We have a bundle version, so we have the versioning problem sorted. Then we have import package and export package, by way of which a bundle is explicitly declaring its dependencies. So we have the other problem sorted, where we are actually doing multiple, copying the same jar multiple times in each application deployment. Because an application is, because a bundle is explicitly declaring its dependencies, the way OSGi runtime is made, there are several layers to it. The module layer, the bundle layer, the module layer, the lifecycle layer, the services layer. Now the lifecycle layer will not allow a bundle to start unless all its dependencies are reconciled alongside the dependencies of other bundles. So if all the imports and exports of this bundle are reconciled against the imports and exports of the other bundle, only then will this bundle be allowed to start. So you will not end up in class not found related kind of exceptions at a later point in time, because all of these are getting sorted at the time of bundling itself. So there's a whole host of good that OSGi brings along with it, and that's why I chose to actually expand on it. Alongside that, there is also there is no monolithic class path anymore. Like I said, you have each bundle that has its own class loader. So you don't have the hierarchical way of class loading right now. Each bundle has its own class loader, which makes it independent and can be used independently. And there is also a bundle repository which is self-scoped, where you can keep all the commonly used bundles, which actually will be shared repositories across all the bundles. So in that sense, you don't have to repeat log4j again and again, because for any bundle that is not contained by value, for any jar that is not contained by value in a bundle, it goes and checks the bundle repository. The runtime goes and checks the bundle repository and tries to find it there. Okay, I know I'm not able to pause for questions because we will take questions at the end. We have a good amount of ground to cover, and for those questions which I may not be able to take today, please pass on your questions to either my mail ID directly or to Mohini, and she'll be able to pass it on to me, and I'll be able to take them. So we will have questions. Please save your questions for the end because there's so much ground to cover and there's a little bit of dirt in time. Moving on to slide 38, this shows from an admin console the snapshot of how you can define a bundle, how you can configure it, what are the various attributes to configuring a bundle. You can see here how there is the bundle repository. I put in this slide only to highlight that bundle repository concept basically. So moving on to slide 39, and this is again a very important one. If those of you who worked on Spring will be able to relate to this Blueprint XML concept, the Blueprint container concept. So OSGi is intrinsically service oriented. Now imagine a situation where there is a bundle that is needed by several other bundles, like say a billing application or a billing related bundle. Now you have several bundles that need this bundle. You have shop, a kiosk, mall, various other bundles that require this billing as a bundle. In which case billing can be exposed as a service in OSGi registry, can be registered and bound as a service in OSGi registry. So we have this concept of service orientation. That is already, those of you who worked on Spring will be familiar with this Blueprint container concept where the same similar concept existed. So these services are defined in blueprint.xml, which is part of the enterprise bundle archive, as we will see in the next slide. The good part is that in Spring Framework, this Blueprint container stayed outside of the application. And right now, with WAS, because the OSGi feature pack is now part of WAS, it comes as part of your runtime, part of your server runtime. Earlier in Spring, it was part of the application. It was not part of the runtime. Now it's part of the runtime itself, server runtime itself. Moving on to slide 40, this is just a snapshot which shows how you can use, how you can declare a service and use it using your Blueprint XML. So basically, this is a shop that's trying to use a billing service. Slide 41 has a definition of service. How do you define this billing service? So slide 40 was just using the service that's declared just as if it were available. So it is available in the OSGi registry, and hence it's able to exploit that service. Slide 42 explains how OSGi service registry and JNDI, which is a standard naming and directory interface for Java EE, how they mutually interact. So JNDI has its own registry, OSGi has another service registry, but they can mutually interreference each other's registered components using URLs, and that is what the slide shows. So you have, if you want to use the artifacts in JNDI, registered in JNDI from OSGi service registry, you have a way to do that. Using the URL scheme that is mentioned in there. And if you want to register, if you want to use the JNDI based registered services in OSGi, you have a way, and OSGi registered services in JNDI, you have a way to do that using URL scheme. So OSGi as a service is intertwined with JNDI, with JPA, with transactions, and with other services of J2EE. So it is not working in isolation. It is properly intertwined with each one of these. If you actually, as an example, if you see in slide 41, the previous slide, the scope for the bean is defined as prototype. Now there's also a singleton scope. So you're able to define scope like that. Similarly, you can define transactional attributes. You can define persistence attributes in this definition itself. So OSGi is neatly intertwined with all these other value-added services that are there in Java EE. Moving on to slide 43, we have the EBA, Enterprise Bundle Archive, which is actually equivalent to your EAR, which bundles all these things together, all the jars, all the bundles together. and it references a bundle repository. You can define your own bundle repository. If you don't, it uses the default internal bundle repository, which is self-scoped. So an EBA has an application manifest, which is optional. If you have it, it uses it. Otherwise, it is contained by value. Whatever is there inside the bundle is what it deems as part of the bundle. And for any other references, it tries to go and check in bundle repository. So that moves us to slide 44. That was a background on the importance of OSGi and what are the benefits it has, what are the features it has. Slide 44 is showing you what are the new value add that OSGi or new features we've introduced in OSGi by way of was V8.5. Now 8.5, unlike the earlier release, introduces EJB bundles as a possibility in the OSGi app bundles. Previously, EJB bundles did not exist. We had only the web-related bundles. Now EJBs can also be part of the OSGi application development. We have, like the slide says, stateless session beans, which can be exported as services in the OSGi service registry. So just as you used to bind them to, you can bind them to your naming tree, you can bind them to the OSGi service registry right now. So this is a very good thing, especially for those that are developing using EJBs are not left out. Previously, when you're doing OSGi development, you did not have the facility of using EJBs. Now you have 3.x, so 3.0 and 3.1 EJBs can be used as bundles in OSGi application development. Slide 45 shows a RAD snapshot of how you can develop an OSGi application using an EJB artifact or module facet, and RAD has the componentization and facilities to do that. That brings us to slide 46, which is that of application migration tooling. Now this is again a very important tool which we are trying to enhance over time. This combines the experience of 14 years of work trying to do migrations from version to version and also from competition, and the experience of all that is clubbed into this tool. So very useful tool at no charge. You can use it for your version to version migrations as well as from competition. It is it's going to be definitely faster than doing it manually because it encompasses the wisdom of having done these migrations. For example, there could be deprecated features and there could be errors and warnings because of that. There could be behavior changes from one GRE to another. There could be third-party tools that are being used, and there could be differences in implementation of a particular spec by different vendors. For example, Hibernate and OpenJPA, which are JPA implementations, have small differences in implementation. Though both of them follow the Java Persistence API specification, they have some small differences in implementation, as we saw in one of the migration exercises that we did. So these kind of things is what the migration tool can catch, and will be able to help you migrate that much faster. So slide 47 shows you the migration tool working. Migration tool in the works using the RAD tools. It shows you how we can actually select the source Java version, the target Java version, and how we can get going with that. That brings us to the last feature we want to cover as part of the rapid application development set of features in WAS V8.5, which is that of mobile application development. Like I said, we earlier had the Web2 and mobile feature pack, which had Dojo toolkit, which had support for JAX RS, by way of which you can have take atom feeds or feeds in any format from other from other services, from other systems onto your web application or onto the application there or portal that you're trying to develop. So Web2 and mobile feature pack was very comprehensive and very complete in being able to have a end-to-end, full-fledged portal development or development of good web applications, interactive SOA-based web applications, both onto your disk and deployable onto a mobile. Now, WorkLite has got one step further, which is a more enhanced and platform which is very specific for mobile development. So it allows hybrid application development, that is both for native OS of the mobile as well as for the desktop. It allows you to take advantage of native services that an Android phone or mobile has to provide, like I just talked about, the GPRA or camera or the other services. So WorkLight is a more catered or specific environment for deployment or usage of or development of mobile applications. So we have our IBM mobile platform, which is made even more better, even more enhanced with IBM WorkLight offering. With that, we come to the end of this presentation. Thank you so much for your time. And as I was mentioning, on slide 50, you have the information on registering to the virtual event of WAS that we are doing from October 10th, 11th, and 12th. We have, like you see in the agenda, a host of webinars, a host of technical videos, blogs, and keynote address, all on WAS V8.5 and app infrastructure offerings. It will be a very worthwhile journey into what I just talked for 1 hour. I mean, you will have a more detailed introduction of on-demand router, intelligent management. You will have a detailed introduction to how the Liberty Profile server starts up in just about 5 seconds or much less than that. You will have technical videos which help you understand these features in good detail. You will have a sneak preview into the IBM Help Center. You will have a sneak preview into the Support Assistant, which has various problem determination tools, problem determination and debugging tools. You have a session on migration for those of you who have plans around it. You have sessions on an extreme scale. You have sessions which on OSGi application development, so which actually is very important for each one of you when you try to put these principles into practice. So the videos are very comprehensive. We have our senior technical members speaking in these webinars. They are here to share their experience. We have the senior executives speaking in these webinars. So all of this is virtual and free for you. There is no cost to this. A 3-day workshop, so please do make use of it and understand more about WAS V8.5. So the registration link is there out there on top and on slide 50. That is a link you have to go and register into this event. It will ask you for some information. You can provide that and make sure you're registered into the WebSphere India community. And by way of which you will be getting links and information on the event, and you'll be able to join the event on October 10th, 11th, and 12th. With that, I'll be able to take questions. Mohini, you'll have to actually ask me the questions because I do not have the panel with me.
Yeah, well, thanks, Ms. Lalita, for the presentation. It was a wonderful one. I would just ask you the questions now.
Sure.
Okay, our first question is from Mr. Nikhil Gupta. He wants to ask, what is the RAM requirement for Liberty Profile?
It is actually what you normally have for your laptop or desktop. There is no, in fact, it is very small. There is no specific specification as to this much RAM that you should have. What you normally get on your laptop should suffice.
Our second question is again from Mr. Nikhil Gupta. He wants to ask, we currently have the WAS 7 in production. Can we have Liberty Profile 8.5 on the developer machine?
Yes, definitely. There is nothing to stop. You can have developer profile 8.5 on your development environment, Liberty Profile, and you can develop using it, and you can deploy into the WAS V8.5 version. If you plan to upgrade your production to WAS from 7 to 8.5, that will be very good. We have to test the fidelity of Liberty on WAS 7, so if you can write to us separately, we'll be able to comment on that.
Next question is from Mr. Ram Nivas Verma. He is asking which counters are monitored on WebSphere Application Server from its performance point of view, and which counter in what way impacts the performance?
Currently, by way of Liberty profile, as I was mentioning, we are monitoring the thread pools, we're monitoring the JVM, and we are monitoring the web container related statistics. So in traditional BOSS, we have a whole host of monitoring functionality. This is only for the Liberty profile because Liberty profile is catered to web application development. So we have these three facets being monitored in the Liberty profile. But in traditional BOSS, that is in the whole full-fledged enterprise BOSS, we have monitoring for EJB container, we have for web services, we have for sessions, we have for connections, we have for Java 2 connections, we have for a whole host of monitoring that is being done across the server for all its components. We have monitoring in transactions, in security. We have a lot of monitoring in the entire production BOSS. Now, Liberty being focused on web alone, we are having monitoring of JVM, thread pool, and the web container related monitoring. We are adding some more in the next version that is to come. And so we will probably be enhancing this, the metrics there are, but in the traditional BOSS you have the entire set. In Liberty, for now you have a limited set of monitoring which is relevant to web application development.
Next question is from Mr. Rajkumar, and the question is, this BOSS supports portlets.
Sorry, what is the question again?
The question is, does BOSS supports portlets?
Portlet deployment, yes, we have. Is that the question? Portlet deployment?
Does BOSS support portlets? Yeah, that is the question.
Yeah. Yes, yes. What is the next question?
Well, that is all we have for today, Ms. Lalita. I would like to thank you for conducting this webinar. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this webinar will be available on techgeek.com by tomorrow. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.